Save 20% off Truck Stop Load Board Pro for 6 months. The best tool for serious carriers. Don't miss out. Click the link in the description to get 20% off Load Board Pro for 6 months. Need capital to grow your business or cover unexpected expenses? Rock Financial has your back. Whether you're looking for a flexible line of credit, a fast cash advance, or tailored working capital solutions, Rock Financial makes it simple to get funded, often in as little as 24 hours. No hidden fees, an easy application, and real support from people who know the business. Ready to take your hustle to the next level? Tap the link in the description to get started with Rock Financial today. Wish insurance was this easy? With LogRock, it's like magic. Real coverage appears when you need it. No tricks. Get covered now. Click the link in the description.
Warning: the following content contains strong language and may not be suitable for children. This content is primarily for adults, as this is a trucking channel and truckers have filthy mouths. Please don't tweak if I say viewer discretion is advised.
What's up? Come on in, make sure you guys hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications. How's everybody doing? Happy Monday. What's today? August 25th. Come on in, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on all post notifications. If you need working capital for your business lines of credit, loans, there's a link in the description for Rock Financial, one of the sponsors of the channel. Cargo van business, box truck business, semi-truck business. They have options for trucking companies or logistics companies for capital. If you need capital for your business, there's a link in the description for Rock Financial. All right, commercial insurance. If you need commercial insurance coming into the business, obviously you're going to need commercial insurance. There's also a link in the description for LogRock. All right, so we got Rock Financial for working capital. We got LogRock, another sponsor of the channel, for commercial insurance, semi-trucks, box trucks, cargo vans, giggers coming into the business. You need it. They got it. If you're looking to renew your insurance or you want to shop around, also, they can give you possibly a better rate than what you're paying currently. So make sure you click that link in the description for your commercial insurance needs. Come on in, guys. Make sure you click the like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications. How's everybody doing today? Let's get this roll call going so we can get this show on the road. Shout out to who we got. Who was that? Michael Robinson. Shout out to Michael Robinson in the building. Shout out to Belize. Shout out to everybody representing the MGM gang. Shout out to Rich from the crib. Shout out to Box Truck Mitch. Box Truck Mitch is he one of the subscribers. He's in my Discord top tier. He's in the top tier in my Discord. He's relocating to Chicago from PA, so he's coming out here to see what these opportunities in Chicago has to hold. So good luck on your relocation from PA to the rack. Shout out to CTR Logistics, representing South Carolina. Shout out to Legit Deliveries LLC, representing Syracuse. Shout out to Kelvin Birch, representing the crib. Shout out to Chris P, representing, he didn't put, but shout out to you for being here. Shout out to SD Walk. Shout out to all the MGM members. Shout out to Frank Sinatra. Shout out to Paul Smith, representing Jersey. Shout out to who else we got? Shout out to Pippi. Shout out to all the moderators in the building. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on all post notifications. All right, man. How y'all weekend was? Mine was great. Saturday I ended up with a headache, a headache that I wasn't expecting to have, but nonetheless, it affected me streaming yesterday evening. I think I was going to do a call-in show. I said the hell with it. I ain't gonna hold you. I said the hell with that shit. After Saturday, I said the hell with it. Hell no. So I didn't do it yesterday. One headache is enough. So yeah, that Saturday shit, that shit was a headache. I ain't gonna hold you. Yeah. But it opened my mind. It's sad. You know, I was talking to somebody yesterday in the content creation space that was saying like, man, it's hard helping people nowadays. It's just sad. And then even the conversation I had, I actually went back because he kept saying the comments on the old girl's page. So earlier today I went and looked at the comments, and you know what people people champion the wrong things, bro. They champion the wrong things, and they just don't take accountability. I saw a lot of, man, you posting about this, but meanwhile somebody making a U-turn and just killed 3 people. I don't understand, like, what does that got to do with anything? That situation was that situation, but then this situation is this situation. Just because that situation turned out worse don't make this situation right. I don't understand it. When you look at uh people's mindset on things and how they look at shit, it's just fucked up, man. And it takes me back to something I remember Daniel said. He's like, Mark, you live in the real world. I live in La La Land. I think a lot of people live in La La Land now. And as time goes on, I see people just, they champion all the wrong shit. Social media can be used for good things, but it also can, it can put you in this bubble of just championing just the wrong shit. I just don't get it, man. I just feel bad for people. I feel bad for people who have a fucked up. And I'm speaking about the people that comments I'm reading. Like, I just feel bad for people who got just a bad mindset, a bad outlook on things, and they think that everything is just fun and games, and it ain't. But it is what it is, you know what I'm saying? It's just fucked up, you know what I'm saying? So today I want to talk about claims, all right? Claims for final mile, because claims are ultimately a killer of a final mile business. I think if you run if you do final mile, I think one of the main ways that you can mess it up for yourself is claims, right? And I know I've talked about them, but we just gonna focus on how to avoid claims today. Claims for damaged goods, claims for lost items, uh, botched installations. All these things cost you money. They can ruin your reputation. They can cost you contracts, and it could also just jeopardize the future of your business. If you want longevity in final mile, one of the main things you need to do is avoid claims. You got to avoid claims. Now, there's no way to avoid them 100%. If you are really deep into final mile, especially dealing with furniture and appliance on the big and bulky side, it's going to happen. Eventually it's going to happen. You can't run at 100% efficiency. You're going to make mistakes. It's just it's a risky job. That's why it pays the way it does. The bigger the risk, the bigger the reward. So first I want to talk about understanding the nature of the risk of final mile. All right. So come on in, make sure you guys hit the like button. turn on all post notifications. Make sure you hit that like button. All right, just don't be a free watcher. Least thing you could do is hit the like button. I heard somebody out here charging $20,000 mentorships. They go into classes and say, Mark, man, I'm getting more info for you for free, and I just paid for this, whatever the fuck it was. And I'm like, damn, motherfucker can't even hit the like button for Big Mark. Y'all getting tricked out y'all bag for 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 motherfucker to tell you about your mindset. Y'all tweaking. Hit the goddamn like button. Shit. So I want to talk about understanding the risk and the nature of final mile. You're handling products, consumer products. You're handling consumer products on the appliance side, expensive products, depending on if you're on the furniture side, depending on who you're delivering for, those items can be very expensive as well. If you're doing something, let's say for restoration hardware, whatever you're carrying and delivering is going to be way more expensive than if you're doing Bob's, right? If you're delivering something for Lowe's, an LG wash tower is going to be different from a GE, stackable, you know what I'm saying? So, you could be delivering some very, very expensive things. Some of these items could be your whole week. Some of these refrigerators, some of these wash towers are $4,000 and $5,000. So, if you get a $4,000 or $5,000 claim, that's your whole week of earnings right there. So you have to understand it. That's the risk. You're going into people's homes. You're going into people's businesses, which means the liability expands beyond the product. It expands beyond the product to the customer's property, right? So it's a little bit different from OTR, where you're just responsible for the things in transport, right? With final mile, you're responsible for the things in transport. You have to touch the things, you have to load the things, physically unload the things. Some of these things you may have to unpackage at the curb, like refrigerators, but boxes, styrofoam, it's not going to fit through the door. So you're taking this stuff in raw or naked. You know what I'm saying? Because you need all the space you can get. You're not going to be able to carry it in the box with the styrofoam. You got to take it out, right? So it's a risk. It's a risk once you cross that threshold. All right, so you have to keep this in mind, because the risk extends beyond the actual items themselves. Most of these items are large, they're bulky, they're valuable. You have to anticipate the risk. You have to anticipate the risk. I talk a lot, like to my guys in the Discord, about training and pretty much scaring the living shit out of your workers. And the reason why this works is because every time they go do a delivery, they always going to have one key component in mind. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. So how do you prevent claims? Obviously training. All right. The number one cause of why claims are as high as they are, and they're really, really high now, is because of lack of training. You got improper handling by drivers and helpers. When I talk to 3PLs, I talk to 3PLs often. They reach out to Big Mark, for advice. So I do advise the 3PLs, and the main issue that they're having is claims, and they're continuing to go up. Why are they continuing to go up? Look at the conversation I had Saturday. Look at the people in the comment section. Nobody gives a fuck anymore. Like, integrity nowadays with a lot of these people in business, there is none. When you got to explain to individuals why they shouldn't be doing certain things, and I'm just using this as an example, the conversation Saturday, not to pick on Buddy, but it's just recent. So it's memorable for people. When you got to explain to individuals as a professional why you shouldn't be doing certain things, that's an issue. That represents the culture right now of the type of individuals that we have coming into business. So when you see shit like that, what you expect when you're dealing with final mile and a person has to handle somebody's $4,000 or $5,000 refrigerator that they just bought with care. You think they're going to have integrity? People don't have integrity no more. And then when they cross the threshold and go into people's homes, they don't have integrity. So this is why claims are going through the roof. Also, one of the main reasons a lot of companies are going in reverse into the way that they used to operate. One is a lack of people, wanting to do it. Two is people not having the resources as far as the capital to do it, which is why some companies like Lowe's are acquiring the trucks and putting you in the trucks and just leasing the trucks to you. Some cases they're not even leasing them to you. They got open force just taking the insurance from you, and then you got companies like Home Depot in some markets that have fully went back to the way of old, where they're just doing all the deliveries in house in some markets. But another reason why is because claims are really, really, like, this is the highest we've seen claims since I've been in Final Mile. This is the highest that these 3PLs have ever seen claims. So first thing you need to do is you need to train. Obviously, train on proper lifting techniques to avoid product damage and personal injury. All right. There's another component with doing Final Mile is injury. You're lifting heavy things. So obviously, one of the first things a person who's doing this type of work can injure is their back. The reason why this is important, one, you don't want these types of these injury claims to your workers' compensation, and two, you don't want to lose an individual, right? Because when a guy goes down, that's one less guy you got, right? So this is why training is very important. Teach them how to use the equipment, moving straps, dollies, sliders, appliance dollies, four-wheel dollies, hump straps, shoulder straps, piano straps, forearm straps. All this equipment exists for a reason. 50% of the delivery is brawn. The other 50% is brain. 50% is brawn. The other 50% is brain. This is a business where it gets frustrating. It's just like moving. About halfway through the day, you're going to get frustrated every day. If you got 19 stops or 17 stops, the likelihood of every single stop, I should say, being seamless it's not likely. Anybody that does this know at least one stop is going to give you a problem, right? And then when you get to that one stop of a 20 or let's say a 30-minute delivery, now you're there an hour and a half because you're met with an obstacle. This is when the frustration starts to kick in, and this is when the mistake starts to happen. A lot of the time, it's due to a lack of knowing how to use the equipment and not using this. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about that more a little bit later. Role playing is very important when you're training individuals for Final Mile. The learning never stops. This is why it's important that you're on the truck. I was talking to somebody in the Discord yesterday. I think it's Isaiah, I believe. Yeah, it was Isaiah. And he has one of the, I think it's it's an older couple. It's a couple that's doing Final Mile down in his market. I think they were not doing good with OTR. They transitioned over to Final Mile. Now they've never been on the truck, but they're having issues. Why? Because they know they don't train nobody. They just hire people off Indeed and they send them to Lowe's. They send them to Lowe's distribution or they send them to whatever 3PL. So you're just hiring some random guys that you haven't trained. You haven't trained to the scope of work, to your scope of work, because you've never done this work yourself. I don't give a fuck if you're old or not. If you're old and you can't physically do this work, then you need to hire somebody that does. And you're going to have to pay them exorbitantly. Why? Because the claims are going to happen. If you just put somebody on the truck and you don't train them to scope, what do you expect to happen? Claims. How can you hold somebody accountable when you never trained them? You can't. How do you expect to decrease claims when you've never trained somebody? You can't. You can't. You're gonna fail. And I know people hate when I say that, but you're gonna start a trucking company, do final mile delivery. You've never lifted a refrigerator or a 92-inch sofa with a flared back or flared side arms or a stackable washer and dryer. You've never done it. You've never done it in a ranch in comparison to a bungalow, in comparison to a Georgia, in comparison to a bi-level, in comparison to a split level. All these different types of homes, maneuvering these large, bulky items are going to be different. Why? You go to a bungalow, if you go through the front door, you know you're going to go through a door. There's going to be a foyer. You got to make a turn. You're going to be in the living room, and now you got to carry this shit all the way back through the kitchen. Unless you can come through the kitchen, and then you got to go through a back door and then another door to get into the kitchen. A ranch style home is a little bit different because it's ground level. You may be able to, there may be a sliding patio door. A Georgian, you know there's going to be 2 or 3 steps up into the home. You don't know all this unless you've done it to be able to know the different types of homes. And then we can get into apartment buildings. A 2-flat, a 3-flat, a 4th floor. A high rise. Understanding when the high rise was built so you can have an understanding of how big the freight elevator is going to be. There's some items that will not fit in the freight elevator. Why? Because the building was built in the early 1900s. The furniture wasn't as big as and bulky as it is. So you may have to take a sofa up 30 flights of stairs. So when you're going up 30 flights of stairs, it's more risk because every single landing, you're putting pressure on that sofa. How would you know this shit if you've never been out there? Listen, and I get a lot of challenge from people, you know, who never been out there. Like when they come to me and I talk to them, I like, bro, if you come to me and you want to learn about shit, I'm just not going to give you like old girl a few weeks ago. Like I'm not the type of person where you can come and say, yo, I got some money, I want to buy a truck. I need you to tell me where to go. My question is like, who going to do the work? Are we going to hire your driver? Bro, I'm not. The first thing I'm going to tell you is, no, you need to get out there. You're going to fail. Either you need to get out there and learn this shit, or you need to spend a grip with someone who does so that they can train the people and teach it to you. So if you're a person who listens to me and you're out there, you need to constantly be role playing and training. Always training never stops. Why? Because you're going to be met with different obstacles. You may not see a specific type of obstacle until like a year and a half later. You're dealing with different products in different scenarios. This specific LG refrigerator is top heavy. It's motorized. A Sub-Zero, the motor is at the top. It's top heavy. A French door is different from a side-by-side. A side-by-side is different from a top and bottom. A sectional is different from a love seat. A love seat is different from a sleeper sofa love seat. A stackable going into a high rise is different than a stackable going into a bungalow basement. A sleeper sofa going into a ranch is different than going into a Georgian. So just because you did this same particular sleeper sofa the first 2 weeks and the route that you may have to, that they may put you on, is mostly ranch style homes, and then one day you get a goddamn bungalow. Then what do? You got to figure it out. You got to learn. Or you've been getting tops and bottoms, and now you get this huge ass French door. So it's crazy to me how people think they can just start this without understanding. If you one of those people listening to me, everything I just said sounds like a foreign language to you. Because you don't you've never been out there, so you don't understand it. So if you don't understand it, how do you expect a person that you hired off Indeed to be successful when you're not out there training them side by side? It's just not. They're gonna have to figure the shit out, and that's where the claims are gonna come in. So you always have to be teaching. You always have to be role playing. You have to understand tight hallways versus stairwell deliveries, so on and so forth. So they know how to maneuver this shit without fucking shit up. You have to be able to train a person to know when to walk away. The customer's not always right. Not in this business. This ain't the hospitality business. In the restaurant business or the hotel business, yes. Regardless of the situation, in a hospitality setting, the customer is always right. Right. Restaurant, yeah, we're going to take a loss on the fries. They want hot fries. Toss these fries and make them a new batch. Yeah, it's a loss, but the loss is very minimal. The hospitality business, you know what? We want some more fluffier pillows or some fresh towels. All right, send them up some towels. In this business, yeah, just make it fit. No, it's not going to fit. Well, don't worry about the wall. We'll just do a patch and paint. And then you do it, listening to the customer, and then they say, all right, you get it in, but you scratch the wall, and then they're like, what about the wall? Well, you said don't worry about the wall. Yeah, but you didn't have to do it. You the professional. But you said don't worry about it. Yeah, I know what I said, but look at my wall. I've been there very early on, wanting to please and appease the customer, and that happened to me. And as I became tenured and I got really, really good, I can eyeball something. Yo, it ain't gonna fit. What I'll do is I'll get it right here, right to the threshold, so that you can eyeball it and see it's wider. I'm gonna turn it around on all four sides so that you can see it's not gonna go in. So I'll go above and beyond to show you to get it right to that threshold so you can see for yourself, or you can get your ass on this truck and take a tape measure and we can measure it and then measure your door. I'll go to that extreme, but I'm not going to force something in because I know I'm going to be responsible for it. I don't need to pull out a tape measure. I'm that good. Yo, it's not going to fit in the elevator. Well, how do you know you ain't tried? I know I've been doing this shit. I'll get it off the truck and we'll line it up and we'll make the attempt just to show you, but it ain't going to fit. We'll make it fit. Nah. I'd rather you be upset than now I got $4,000 claim. Training should be ongoing. Never stops. Why? Scenarios. There's so many different scenarios that you can run across in this business. It'll take you years to meet every single line of Whirlpool, every single line of Frigidaire, every single line of LG, every single thing in that line of Samsung, every single thing in that line of Bosch, every single thing in that line of GE in comparison to every single building architecture that you could deliver to. And then you throw little obstacles in, long carries. I talked about the guy from the Discord last week. His driver drove the truck on these people's lawn because he was lazy. He didn't want to do a long carry. Well, Market Street was narrow. What have I said before? I'm in a big city. I'm in Chicago. We've had to block the whole street. Yeah, people gonna blow, people gonna honk, they gonna stick their middle finger up at you. We bogarting and shit. I'm in a big truck. What they gonna do? They gotta wait. Yeah, we may get a ticket. It's the cost of doing business. Ain't shit else we can do. But what I'm not gonna do, I'd rather take a $150 ticket than a $2,000-$3,000 lawn repair, because now they got to come through, a landscaping crew got to come and lay down new sides. That means they got to go buy the side and then they got to come down and lay it down. They got to pull up all this shit from all these tire marks because of this ignorant incompetence and lay down fresh side. I'd rather get the middle finger and get cussed out and make a clean delivery than have a claim. And these are just scenarios that you'll come across. But here's the thing, unless you've been out there over a period of time, you're not going to be able to understand. Some people out there now that's watching this now that are looking to come into this business, I'm probably telling you things that you would have never thought of. I told the story of how I had to move a truck 19 times. Why? No alley, narrow street, had to double park, right? Cars can get by, but anytime a truck or a garbage truck or FedEx or Amazon van or UPS, anything big, another moving truck came by, had to pack everything up, close the door, and go around the block. I had to do it 19 times. Customer had to pay. These are the things that you deal with in the field so that you can train. You know what to expect so you can train on it. So training is ongoing. I never had to move a truck that many times until year 11. That happened 2021, I believe. A well-trained team is your first line of defense against claims. Hit the like button. Hit the like button. We got 60 people, 31 likes. Hit the like button. Shout out to Sam B for that super chat. Appreciate it.
Sweet.
Equipment. You got to invest in proper equipment. All that cheap ass shit, that ain't going to get you nowhere. Those 4-wheel dollies that you get from Home Depot with the carpet, that's bullshit. Real professionals, we don't use that. That $20 4-wheel Home Depot dolly, let me show you. Home Depot. Let me show. This shit right here. We don't use this. It's that cheap shit. If you got this on your truck and you call yourself a final mile or a moving guy, hey, we gonna laugh at you. That $20 dolly, we not fucking with that. This shit right here, oh, these motherfuckers $43 now. God damn, I remember these joints was $20. They want $43 for these cheap ass dollies now. This shit right here, this shit garbage. This shit gonna break. They say it's rated for 1,000 pounds. That shit is not 1,000 or 2,000 pounds. That shit is garbage. We use big cap. We call them Chicago cap. We use shit like this. Oh. Use the big cap joints. You can get these from New Haven. or you can get them from CDS. You're not gonna get this at goddamn it Home Depot. And guess what? You're gonna spend $100 for each one of these. When I was buying them back in the day, they was like 60 something. They're $100 now. Big cap dollies. You can get them from New Haven. You can get them from CDS. You got to go to a moving equipment place to find them. Let me see. Big cap. All right. So, equipment. None of that cheap shit. Furniture blankets. Not the cheap furniture blankets. Like this. I don't want to see this. Remember, you had the moving guy that came on the channel. Was it early this year, last year? He was talking all this. Oh, I got the #1 moving company in Milwaukee and all this, that. And then I'm looking at his blankets and he had the goddamn it furniture pad, not the Home Depot, the U-Haul furniture joints, the cheap joints, the felt ones. You see, he had these joints. He had these joints. These joints right here. Oh, them the cheap joints. You want the thick furniture pads, not even these. A dozen, they cost 100 and something. So if you getting a dozen for 60, them ain't even the ones you want. These the cheap joints. Let me show you the ones you want. And you can shop around, but you're going to have to go to a moving supply place to get them. Oh, let me see something. Give me a second. All right, here we go. These the best ones. About 100 pounds a dozen. At $300 for 12. They're thicker, they're heavier. Now, you can get some cheaper ones. They're not going to be as thick and they're not going to be as heavy. So you can mix them in like these right here. You can mix them in, but just know that when you're wrapping something, you need to know what you're wrapping when that you're going to use the thick ones. Obviously, if you're wrapping something really, really, let's say wood with a lot of glass, then you're going to use these thicker blankets. If you're wrapping something that may not be as expensive, it's no glass, you just need to cover it, then you can use these blankets that are a little bit lighter. They tear a lot faster, right, than the thicker ones, but never get the felt ones. Never get the felt ones, the first ones I showed you. The felt ones. Never get those. Those are for rookies. Those are for rookies. If I see them gray ones, I'm going to treat you just like I treated dude. And I treated dude because he came over talking about he the #1 moving company in Wisconsin, bro. But you got $3 blankets. How you expect to protect things when if you put these cheap felt blankets on something and then you sit it on the ground, because the point of the blankets is to protect the item. So you wrapping something 360 degrees and you may have a dresser standing on the side and you're pivoting it. It might be on a concrete landing in a stairwell, concrete on the ground. The more you twist and pivot, right, these items, those cheaper blankets, especially the felt, they're going to tear. They tear. If you're going up 3 or 4 flights of stairs and every landing you have to pivot it, depending on the material on the ground, if it's steel, especially concrete, it's just going to rip right through it. That's why you have people that wrap things and they still get claims because the blanket ripped while they were going upstairs with it. It ripped right through. Shrink wrap. I'm not going to go over all the materials. I'm just giving you a comparison analysis. Understand the different gauges of shrink wrap. A lot of y'all go to Home Depot because you don't know no better, and you get that green shit. That shit is only 43 gauge. It's thin. You should be at least dealing with 80 gauge shrink wrap. It's thicker. It's more durable. You can fucking shrink wrap somebody with that Home Depot shit around them. Then you could put that Home Depot shit around me like a mummy, and I'll break through that shit. That shit's so goddamn it cheap. If you can break through this shit, then you don't need to have it. You should be at least 80 gauge. You're gonna pay 80 gauge price. A case of 80 gauge, you get 4 in a case, about $70. Which is less than going to Home Depot paying $30 for 43 gauge for a single roll. If you're in this business, you should be ordering by the case anyway. So you can't go cheap. The cheaper you go, the more opportunity will exist for claims. You think you got material, but the material ain't helping it because it's cheap. It's just ripping right through. You're steady touching and pivoting. Straps. You need them. And not just the shoulder straps. I still don't see people using hump straps. People are like, what are hump straps? Hump straps, shoulder straps, forearm straps, piano straps. You need to get them. You need to learn how to use them. You'll see a person don't train a person. They'll put the shoulder straps on. They don't know how to feed the strap. Then they get under something and stand up. And then the strap, when they stand up, because they don't know how to feed it and lock it, as soon as they stand up, the strap just comes right out. And then the goddamn item just drops. Because you never showed nobody. You don't know how to use the straps your damn self. Sliders, corner protectors. I went to war with another content creator because I was trying to educate him on, people's floors. And then it turned into 3 months of me person judging my faith and being a Christian. Sliders. Knowing when and when not to use equipment. Where to use equipment, how to use it. Corner protectors. Runners. You want to dolly some shit through a person's house on their hardwood floors? At least you can put down some runners. Runners are not cheap. But you need them. Masonite. Not cheap. But in some cases, you may need Masonite. And if you don't know what this stuff is, you should be writing this shit down and you're looking this shit up. Insurance is your second line of defense after training to prevent claims. Every single dollar you spend on the correct equipment is going to help prevent thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of claims. Remember, if you're going into big and bulky, especially on the appliance side, one refrigerator can be $4 or $5 grand. One wash tower is $3 grand. Imagine getting 2 or 3 claims in a week. I had a guy in the Discord, I think he had $18,000 of claims. I've talked to people that have a $25,000 claim. One claim, 25 grand. Documentation. Claims are a battle of he said, she said. So if it's a he say, she say situation, right? And let's say you're not at fault, documentation is what protects you. It's 2025. It's not like back in the day where, camera phones and shit were new and just not as good and shit like that. When I was getting started, we didn't have this. We weren't required to do this shit. Now it should be a requirement. You should be taking pictures during your walkthrough. You shouldn't just unload a truck or an item off a truck and go right through the door. The helper should definitely go into the house, look at the doorway, see if the doors need to be moved, where's the item going, and looking at the path. And in the path of wherever we're going to be entering into to where the item needs to go, if it's like a white glove delivery or a room of choice, you need to be looking and documenting every single imperfection along that path. Not only should you be documenting the imperfections, you should be seeing if the path is clear. The last thing you want to do is just start unloading some shit, get through the threshold, and then got to put the item down because the dining room table needs to be slid over. There's an armoire right there, and it's kind of, protruding past the threshold of the doorway. So now that armoire has to get moved. Depending on the 3PL, that may be outside the scope of work. In most cases, the customer should have already been notified, or you should notify them when you're calling them to tell them that you're on the way, that a clear path, you need to make a clear path from entry to where the item is going to, end up or get set up at. It's not your duty in most cases on a final mile room of choice or white glove delivery to clear the path. Because everything you touch, you become liable for it. So if there is a armoire that needs to be slid over and you slide it and you scratch the floor, that's on you. You shouldn't have touched their armoire anyway. They should have had that shit moved over. And that extends beyond the threshold, the outside. If you're in a market like mine and it's a snowy day, listen, if you ain't shoveled your snow, if you ain't salted the path, we're not going to attempt a delivery when there's ice because you're lazy. You knew you had a goddamn refrigerator coming today, and you expect us to carry this refrigerator up your driveway or up your walkway, and you haven't shoveled your snow, or you shoveled your snow and you didn't salt, and there's ice, we're going to fall. If you attempt that delivery to me, you're a fool. If you don't train your people to know when not to make attempts, then you're crazy. This all goes with training. A waiver is not going to protect you because you're going through a 3PL. They deal with the customer, not you. Second of all, if you're a professional, it's just like I was watching Buddy. I ain't going to say his name. You know what I'm talking about. One of his recent videos, well, if I go into a person's home and I damage something, I have a waiver that protects me. That's ignorant shit, right? As a professional, and you damage something, why aren't you holding yourself? If you come into my home, by everything in my nature, you gonna pay me. As a professional, the reason why they hired you is for a professional job. Anybody that goes and wants to move, or anybody that goes to Ashley or Bob's or Home Depot, all these stores have a distribution center. They'll give you an option to pick your stuff up on your own. Go rent a U-Haul, find your friend with a pickup truck or whatever. You can go out to the DC and get it at the wheel call, and they'll bring it to you, and you could do it yourself. The purpose of people paying is because they don't have those resources, and or they don't want to do it. So as a professional, if you go into someone's home and you damage, you break their refrigerator, you break their stove, you break their TV, you scratch their floor, yo, we come in your house, but if we damage it, if we drop it, we ain't responsible for it. Don't work like that. But when you're dealing with a 3PL, no, you're responsible for it, pimp. High risk, high reward. But even on the moral side of it, the ethical side of it, if I come into your home and I scratch your floor because of my incompetence, damn, my bad. No, I got to pay for it. It's business. There's ethics to business. It's called business ethics. I took it in college. So you should be documenting everything on the path, right? Before and after, right? You should have a system or a software. A lot of people today use Slack, where every job you should have a chat. You should be using Slack, and you can upload the pictures and everything into one of the channels, however you, as an owner, set it up for your business. Even at the 3PL, you should be looking at this shit, taking pictures, because once you load this shit on your truck, is your responsibility. So if you didn't inspect the things, that's on you. Once the customer signs off, if something does arise and you do what you're supposed to do as far as taking pictures and documenting imperfections, now you have something working for you if a consumer is making a false claim. If you have nothing, 99% times you're going to lose. Why? Because the shit rolls downhill. Unless it's just obvious that the consumer is fabricating a story to receive loss, then most of the time you're going to lose. The retailer ain't going to pay for it. They're going to put it on the 3PL. The 3PL going to put it on you. If you're doing a delivery where the items are boxed and you open it, let's say Bye Bye Baby or something like that, even with Bye Bye Baby, back then we had to unbox the stuff at the store. But let's say you're doing some type of delivery where the items are boxed, and then you get there to do a white glove and you pull the stuff off the truck and you unbox the stuff and you see there's damage. Notate it immediately, take pictures. Customer's there. Listen, customer, take a look. I just pulled this out the box. There's some imperfections here. Is this okay with you, or do you want to send it back? Sign off on it. How the customer sign off on it. CYA. When you do all these things, the documentation shifts the liability off of you when the damage is not your fault. But if you're not covering your behind, then 9 times out of 10, you're gonna bite the bullet. customer expectations. You have to set them. A lot of claims stem from misaligned expectations. You should be communicating your delivery windows early. When you're on a job or headed to a job, prior to the delivery of the next job, give the customer a call. If you're on the job prior to a next delivery and you're hung up on that job, you need to take a minute or two to call the next customer. Listen, we're running late. I'm stuck on the job before you. We may arrive a little bit after your delivery window. When you finish with the job be prior to the next customer, when you're in the truck, putting that shit into the GPS, the helper should be calling the next customer. Hi, this is Mark with Mark the Mentor Delivery LLC. I got your washer and dryer. Just letting you know we're about 20 minutes away. Is the path clear? The path where we're going to come in at, is it clear? Yeah, just make sure the path is clear because we can't touch anything. It did snow. We're going to, hopefully, is your snow shoveled and salted? Okay, because if the path is not clear, both outside and in, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to attempt the delivery. Customer is going to say, okay. Why? Because they're expecting the delivery. So that means if they got to put their coat on and go outside and shovel and salt, then that's what they're going to do. If they see there's a bunch of stuff in the path where they know you got to come through, they're going to move it out the way. The different levels of delivery. A lot of customers, when they're sold these items at POP, they're offered different forms of delivery in some cases. Some companies, like your Lowe's and your Home Depot, most of that stuff is just all white glove. But like a lot of these online companies, like when I was doing cross-docking, they offered them curbside, they offered them threshold, they offered them threshold room of choice, and they offered them a full white glove. A lot of customers just look at the price points, right, and don't read the description of the different types of delivery. So you'll get to a delivery and you'll drop it off the curb and the customer will be looking at you crazy like, man, what are you doing? What do you mean what I'm doing? I'm leaving it here at the curb. Well, you're not going to bring it into the house? No, it's a curbside. No, it's not. You see right here? CB. That's the code for curbside. WG is white glove. Then there's threshold, which means you just carry it threshold, whether they want it the back door, the front door, whichever door they choose. As soon as it crosses the threshold, you drop it. Then there's threshold room of choice. You cross the threshold into the home, and whatever room they want it in, that's where you put it. And then there's white glove. Cross the threshold, room of choice, unbox, assemble, remove of debris. So prior to arriving, let the customer know so that when you get there, it's no expect. Obviously, if you know you got a refrigerator on the back and you see it says a curbside, 9 times out of 10, the customer is expecting it to come in home. They just didn't know what form of delivery they were picking it because they don't understand the terminology, they don't understand the language. They might have not read the descriptions, especially if they purchased it online. So you want to get that up out the way because they may say, you know what, I'm going to have to reschedule it and then you can proceed to the next. Or they may say, look, I didn't know that. What is it going to take for you to bring it into the home? So then that's why if they be like, I'll tip you $100, then you take that tip, you understand with that tip, there's liability associated with it. Most people are going to take the tip, but they know once you cross that threshold, you on your own because on the document, when the customer paid for it at POP, they only solidified curbside. So you have to understand all this. Now, to the individuals that's watching, 85 people, 46 likes. Make sure you hit the like button. and this stuff sounds like a foreign language to you, that means you ain't been out there. And if you looking to come into this business without getting out there, how can you train individuals on everything that I'm talking about if you don't know what I'm talking about? There's a lot more to this business than just picking some shit up and putting it somewhere. And this contributes to the failure rate. This is why people win versus people that lose. Everything that I'm talking about, the understanding of it, how I can speak it so fluently, because I know it inside and out, front to back, top to bottom. You want the customers to understand and know what to expect prior to you getting there. This should be communicated en route. Now let's talk about insurance, because this is the biggest misconception. Even with the best prevention, shit happens. There's no way to prevent it. Like, there's no way you're gonna ever run without a claim. Eventually some shit's gonna happen, whether you were negligent or you just made a mistake. Mistakes happen. Your back might give out. You might be doing everything right, but you've been working vehemently and your back just gives out. It's happened to me. My shoulder gave out. It was already bad. I shouldn't have. The pandemic was rough. The shoulder gave out me with a goddamn arm wire. I've told this story plenty of times. On the truck, prepping and stand up. Shoulder gives out. Thing tips. Luckily, Chancey was right there. Tim was here. I was here. We got it strapped. Chancey was on the left. It tipped, so he caught it. If he wouldn't have been right there, it was a wrap. My shoulder gave out. So things happen. We hadn't even left the truck yet. My shoulder just gave out. My shoulder was already bad. At the end of the day, if he wouldn't have been there, it still would have been on me. Customer would have felt bad. They were right there watching. Because that was the last piece. It was hell getting it out of the place we got them out of. They said that thing has been giving them hell all the years they've had to move. From the delivery of it, they said, when they first bought it, to every time they had to move it. And guess what? It had to go up a flight of stairs. That's why when these guys talk, I just, like, y'all. Cargo insurance covers things in transport. So if you break something attempting a delivery, cargo insurance doesn't cover that. See, this is the type of information that y'all don't get in these mentorships that y'all be buying. Cargo insurance doesn't cover that. Cargo insurance covers transport. That's it. If the shit is off the truck and you're attempting a delivery, your cargo insurance don't cover that. General liability covers property damage. If there's property damage in final mile, that's where general liability kicks in. But hold on there. Hold that thought. You shouldn't use it. When I talk to people like, well, man, I got insurance. If we break something, don't work like that. If you make a delivery and you damage an item, you're going to pay for it. Well, why wouldn't I put it on my shirt? See, a lot of you new cats, you think insurance works like how it works in your personal life, your personal car insurance, your renter's insurance, your home insurance. Commercial insurance don't work like that. You file a claim, sure. one or two things gonna happen. They're gonna drop you, or your premium gonna go through the roof. The first time I had a claim, I went to my broker. This is what I learned many, many years ago. He said, Mark, you want to save your claims for the big stuff. I forgot what the claim was. It was a couple grand. Me being a young new business owner, but luckily I have a broker who was tenured in the business to explain things to me. Because to me, I'm like, this is big. It's a couple grand. I forgot how much it was, but it was a couple grand. So I'm like, this ain't big. He's like, no, this ain't nothing. You probably want to pay for this out of pocket. And he explained to me why. Then the big one came. It was $55,000. I've told the story of what it was. They dropped us. They didn't renew us. I wasn't going to pay $55 out of my pocket. It was the only claim I had to file. Every single claim that I have throughout my illustrious career, I paid out of pocket. $3,000, $5,000, $6,000, $4,500, $5,500 out of pocket. One time, $55,000, and they didn't renew. So this is an industry that you have to understand that if you come in, your claims are going to be out of pocket. $3,000 out of pocket, $5,000 out of pocket, $9,000. I just had a guy in my Discord, $9,000. He paid it out of pocket. Why? It's cheaper that way. I got my Discord literally paid $9,000 what 2 months ago out of pocket. So when people say, "Oh, working capital," you can't have a business without insurance because your ass gonna get dropped. So I'd rather not get renewed for a big claim than some $3,000 and $4,000 shit. We just pay that shit out of pocket, and we keep pushing. So something for you to think about. Let's talk about accountability. Oh, let me say this too before I move on. If you're running with a 3PL, they're just going to take it out your settlement. And most 3PLs will work with you. So if you got a $5,000 claim, they may say, look, we'll take $500 out over the course of the next 5, or 10. Let's say you got a $5,000 claim, they may say, we'll take $500 out over the course of the next 10 settlements. Or if it's $2,500, they may say, we'll take $500 out. You can negotiate, or you could just like take it out and all in one whop. It's up to you. But I wouldn't be filing no claims with my insurance for no little shit. All right, let's talk about quality control and accountability. You got to create systems to catch problems before they occur. You need to be performing audits, random audits. If you got a fleet of trucks, you need to be performing audits, whether you're popping up performing these audits or you have an individual that is been trained by you and he's on like your A team, and you can siphon people in on his router and they can observe and see where they're good at, what they're slacking in, and then that individual can relay that information back to you, and then you can create a course of action for that individual to get trained by that team that you have out there that's considered your A team. Most 3PLs do audits afterwards, right? Shout out to J. Cole. J. Cole is probably one of the most successful final mile guys since finding my channel. He's followed my blueprint. He's at 7 trucks. Shout out to you, J. Cole. Appreciate that $100 super chat. You need to perform these satisfaction calls. If you're with a 3PL, the 3PL is going to do it for you. Obviously, most people are going to be with a 3PL. All right, bonuses and penalties. This kind of leads back into what we talked about: standard operating procedures, employee handbook, contracts that you have with your employees. You break it, you bought it. But this needs to be stipulated at hire. It needs to be in contract, and it needs to be signed off. On top of that, you need to train. You can't hold a person responsible. You can't hold them accountable if you didn't train them. There was somebody in my Discord. Was it the same person? Was it AJ? Somebody was trying to hold somebody accountable for something. We asked, did you train him? He said, no. Well, then you got to pay for it. You can't deduct anything from somebody's check when you haven't trained them. I don't understand that. It was him. It was the lawn situation. You didn't train him. You can't take nothing out of his check. You didn't train him. An individual who's been running for a long period of time with no claims, yes, you need to pay them more. They're going to eventually come to you and ask you for more because they know how valuable they are, so they're going to use it as leverage. Person running 6 to 12 months and they a dog, no claims, oh, yeah, you need to, they finna come and hit you upside the head. And you know what you're going to have to do? You're going to have to pay them. Because you can't afford to lose them. This is an individual that is doing top tier work at a rate of 100% efficiency. If you already pay him $250 a day and he wants $300, you gonna pay him. You better. Well, Mark, that's gonna bring my profit from $150 to $100 a day. And you rather this dude go somewhere else or leave altogether, and then you get man coming in getting claims, then you gonna wish you would have gave him that little nifty 50. Greedy pigs get led to the slaughter. The name of this game is scale. The name of this game to get to the bag is scale. The individuals who are operating inefficiently, you have to have these things in the handbook in place so when you hold them accountable and you deduct, it's there in writing and they signed off on it. Then there should be a system where this is how they get or don't get work. Obviously, I'm not going to put a person who's running efficient on a top tier contract. If I'm running restoration hardware, I'm not going to put a guy who's C-level on a contract like restoration hardware, where a goddamn dresser is 10 grand. I'm going to put that guy on IKEA or Bob's. I'm going to put my killers on a restoration hardware or our house. Or Walter E. Smith. If you never heard of these furniture companies, then I know I know what you just that's the high scale shit. That's that upscale shit. So you gotta have these systems. You have to measure performance. Now, let's get into the actual handling process of the claims. So, what happens when you get a claim? I talk to people all the time when they get their first claim. It's like they lost their dog. I tell people all the time, I'm telling you now, it's going to happen. You can avoid it as much as you want by being efficient, but mistakes are going to happen. You might miss a stair. It might be your 12th delivery, and this is your 6th out of 7th day running, and you're just fatigued. Your legs are fatigued. It was a hard week. Home Depot or Lowe's had a sale on the most heaviest washer and dryer stackable or the most heaviest refrigerator, and you've been delivering them all week, and you just been getting, you in New York, you Chicago, and they just been going to condos with stairs. It was just one of them weeks, and your body is drained. And then you that 6th day, your 10th stop, and your legs are ready to give, and you think you lifted that leg up to hit that stair, and the tip of your toe touch the edge of that stair, and you miss it, and that shit come tumbling down. Is it your fault? Absolutely. But it wasn't due to inefficiency. It was just due to your body just being fatigued for the type of work we do. That's something that's going to happen. It's unfortunate, but it's going to happen. And you're going to have to pay for it. Hopefully you've had 150 successful deliveries with no claims, that now that you got this one, it doesn't affect you. This is why you have to be efficient and reduce your incompetent claims to a minimum, so that when the claim that happens that for something like this is just an unfortunate thing, it doesn't really hurt you as much. How do you handle it? Quickly. Professionally. Only an unprofessional delays the shit. Now, if you're one of the people that are in my Discord that comes into the Discord and screenshots it and asks for, that's as far as the delay you go. If you are one of my people, you come for advice, that's as far as the delay. Once you get an answer, whether it be from me or Cole or somebody in that channel that's a specialist, then that's when you go. There shouldn't be any, hesitation in between that. That's the only level of hesitation. Maybe come and get an advice. How should I handle this? Because when you delay it, the customer is going to get angrier and angrier and angrier. You can't avoid it. If you're in business, running away is not going to solve the issue. As a business person, we meet our issues head on. Why? Because it's not going to go nowhere. You go to sleep, it's going to wake up, it's problem going to still be there. You got to have a process, documentation, investigation. If you've been watching my channel, I always talk about you have to investigate these things. You have to know how to get the information out of the employee. You have to know how to ask them so that if they lie to you, you know how to talk to them in a way to, get the answers out of them without maybe directly being specific, if you know what I mean. You have to know your employees on an employee basis. So just like how you see how I finesse these guys when they come up here on a call-in show, because now they know, like, man, Mark gonna ask me my CPM, so I'm just gonna throw a number out there. And then I'll act like I'm okay with it, but then I'll ask some other questions, and then you tell me you're renting a truck, and then I'll keep playing along with it. I'm just a smart dude playing dumb at this point, but I already know that ain't your CPM, but I'm building up a case on you. You just don't know it. And then towards the end, and that's when I call you out, and then you got the boo-boo face. You got to do the same thing when you investigating this shit with your employee. Why? Because if you have your systems in place, your employee already signed off at the date of hire that if you break it, you bought it. So they're going to try to get up out of paying for whatever it is they broke if they know they're guilty. And you got to do the same thing with the consumer. You got to be a good detective. You have to be very, very good at it too, because the 3PL is leaning on you. So you need to get the truth so you know how to communicate with the 3PL, because you don't want to seem incompetent as the owner to the 3PL. And you have to have a resolution timeline. You don't want to, because the 3PL has a resolution timeline, because they have to communicate that with the retailer. They're not going to play with you that long. Never accept blame automatically, especially if it's just not blatant where the customers, one of them customers just following you the whole time. You know, you got some of those customers, they just, every single step you take, every room you go in, every turn you make, they right behind. They so close to you, watching you, it just irritates you. My moving and my final mile guys, y'all know what I'm talking about. There's always a customer like that. We ain't gonna go a specific customer. We ain't gonna talk ethnicities and stuff. You know what I'm saying? But I swear, it's two types of people that no matter what, when you see you, 9 times out of 10, they're gonna follow you. Now, if you just do something right in front of them, then it's what it is. But if it's something that comes up, then don't accept blame, automatically. You got to review the documentation, redo the pictures. One got one of them right. Redo the pictures first. If your system is set up, go into Slack or whatever you're using, look at the pictures, look at the before, look at the after. Michael got it right. Y'all know. You got to do your investigation. When you're at fault, resolve it quickly. If you can deal directly with the consumer, do it. If it's something small, like a patch and paint, that's something that you can do for under $100. That's something that if you have a multitude of trucks, you can go to Walmart, get some spackle, a putty knife, some tape. Less than $10 for material. A small thing of putty. And you should keep it on each truck. Your drivers, your guys should be competent enough to do minor patch and paint. Obviously, they're not going to be able to paint the same day. But 9 times out of 10, if you ask the customer, what's the code of paint, I'll spackle it today and I can come back at a later date and paint it. 9 times out of 10, they'll say, don't worry about the paint. As long as you patch up the hole, we'll just paint the area. Like, I'm not finna be going back for a patch and paint. You can do that right then and there. A little nick, a little hole, a little scratch. You can literally go to Walmart and get some spackle, a putty knife, some tape. And I'm speaking for minor, not like no major shit. Like that can be taken care of right then and there. If you can handle the situation directly with the consumer, better. The biggest fear is a floor. Well, my biggest fear has always been a floor. Because we know with a floor what's going to happen. A scratch this big, you looking at it, to the rookies, you looking at it just a scratch this big. But when John's or Mike's hardwood floor come out, they're going to look at that scratch and they're going to do like this. And they say, yeah, we can fix it, but it's not going to be consistent with the rest of the floor. So in order for it to be consistent, we have to redo the whole floor. We're going to have to sand the whole floor, because if we just sand and refinish that area, it's going to look newer than the rest of the floor, because the last time we came out to do your floors was 10, 15 years ago. The floors still look good, but that little area, we're going to have to do about this much of that space, so you're going to be able to tell the difference. And then a homeowner is going to say, no, I want my floors to look consistent throughout the home. All right, well, we got 1,200 square feet of hardwood flooring. It's the going rate right now about $5,000. And you're going to not understand why. Right, because it's not your floor. You probably don't own a home. You come into my home, I want my floors to be consistent throughout. And it's hardwood everywhere. I don't want that part to look a little bit glossier than the rest. Right, because I know it, and that's a problem. It's going to bother me. You might get lucky and have a customer that's okay with it, but most customers, I'm telling you from experience, when they get their estimate, because they're going to always use their guy. And like I always tell people in business, you always got to look at shit from both sides of the equation. Get out your feelings and look at shit from both sides. Because if you were the hardwood floor man and you came out, you would sell them the same thing. But as a homeowner myself, I want my floors to be consistent. So I as a homeowner myself, because I'm looking at the full scope, I'm looking at it from my business perspective, I'm looking at it from the homeowner's perspective, and I'm also looking at it from Mike's hardwood perspective. Yes, I don't want to pay for a whole floor, but if I was the customer, it was my floor, I would want my floor to be consistent. If I was Mike's, I'm out there to sell the customer. Ethically, he's right. It's not going to be consistent. I look at things from all sides of the equation. I don't get in my feelings about it. I don't do none of that shit. I put myself in everybody's shoes. The biggest thing you could worry about is a floor. You could scratch a floor. I've had people in that follow my channel. I've heard stories of a wash machine dryer. I'm not gonna say who, that their crew went out, delivered a wash machine dryer. I think they didn't take out something out the wash machine. I think they put either the extra hardware or something in the wash machine, and then when the customer went to use it, they didn't look in there. The crew forgot to take out the extra hardware, so they put the first load in there, and the water just spilled out or something. The story was, and it went all over the floor. If I think how the story went, and it damaged the floor, and I think she was in a unit, so then it went down to the unit under. It was $25,000, something like that. That's why training is very important. That's why when I was talking to the guy in the Discord last night, like, these guys are doing fine. They never train these guys. But then you get upset when you get claims. You can make a lot of money. But what's going to stop you is claims. Claims are the number one issue. Well, I don't want to say number one issue. Number one issue is just incompetence, just in general. But claims are so high right now with 3PLs. It's ridiculous because of the lack of integrity. And to be honest with you, I don't think it's going to get any better. But based off what the conversation I had Saturday, based off the reaction to what the comments I seen under the video, like people today, like I don't know where this world going to. But I know when I walk into someone's home and the way that I always train my people and just the lack of respect that I have, the lack of respect for my crews throughout my tenure, because we're from a different generation, a different time period in this industry. We treat people's belongings and we treat people's homes the way we would want an individual to treat ours. That lack of I don't give a fuck mentality that we see out here today, like that's not something that I had to deal with, and not nor would I tolerate. Why? Because as a business owner, my objective is to make money. And if I have that type of mentality, what do I expect from the people that that work under me to have? I show respect. I expect them to show respect. I'm not going to tolerate anything less. Why? Because tolerating anything less, I know if it's going to affect me negatively. I'm here to make money, not spend it getting people's floors done, patching walls, replacing shit. So integrity. Like people have to have integrity, and it starts with you. If you have a lack of integrity, your employees are going to have that same, like you set the standard. You set the tone. Take 3 questions and I'm out, bro. I got to get to the gym. 3 questions, man. I ain't dropping no links today. I don't want to talk to nobody. I don't want to hear shit. I'm just going to take 3 questions. I'm gone. Let me see. Let me find one. People say, keep in mind, customers can refuse to let you fix. Absolutely. They're going to always more than likely get their own either not handyman, but own contractors. The only time when customers will just let you fix something, if small patch and paint, they ain't tripping on. But like a floor, something major, nah, bro. We want our own claim. We gonna get our own people to come out here and give us an estimate. A patch and paint is simple. They'll let you, if you could scuff a wall, go ahead, putty, wop, and come back and paint it. Or they'll paint it 9 times out of 10, they'll just paint it themselves. Especially if it's like a small little area. You do a good job patching, they'll just hit it, boom, tape, fill in it, pop, pop, pop. Patch it up, real cool, smooth it out. Let it dry. Look, I just patched it. It just needs to dry. I can come back in a couple of days and paint it. You got the paint code? No, I don't have the paint code. Let me get it from the landlord. Or, yeah, there's a bucket of paint, extra bucket of paint when they painted the unit in the closet. Once this dries, I'll just hit it myself. It's no big deal. As long as the hole is covered, I can. Like major shit, absolutely. They're going to want their own contractor to come out. Romero says, we take photos along the route. We carry the furniture videos if needed. We try to capture as much pre-existing damage as possible. Good job. Pippi said, Dr. Kumar followed me everywhere when I cleaned their house, man. Man, them Indians and the Chinese people, I'm going to be honest with you. They just going to follow you. This is what it is, man. I just learned to just deal with it. Appreciate Kobe for that super chat again.
Sweet.
And appreciate Sam B for that super chat earlier as well. Shout out to Jonathan in the building. Jonathan got that big contract doing all exercise equipment. He be doing full gyms, getting to the bag. Something that I know a lot of people ain't gonna want to do because them gym assemblies, you talk about heavy. Man, he get into a bag. Listen, money is out there. It's just the type of money people want to make so much money they don't want to do the work. Like with what John doing, labor intensive, back breaking work doing them gym assemblies. Cause it ain't nothing but heavy shit. Weights, treadmills, ellipticals, cable machines. So then you got all the weights, and it's some of those projects are 2 and 3 days or longer. A lot of money. People don't want to live. People don't want to assemble nothing. There you have it. And then he's constantly having to be out there because you have to train. This is a very tedious job, and it requires a level of 50% brain. But assembling some of these cable machines, you gotta be competent. So shout out to John. James Malik said, I used to do claims for L's. I don't know if the L is a word, but I can assure you they passed through claims on guys just to shut the customer up when the team did everything right. There's also guys who are actually idiots too. Yeah, obviously claims get passed through. That's why you have to have your documentation and photos and everything you can. So if you have to dispute something, you have evidence to help you dispute it. But I'm gonna be honest with you. In today's times, and I talk to 3PLs all the time, uh, because I advise them. Um, and just being in the space and talking to individuals on the call-in show, like the guy I talked to Saturday, and so on and so forth. The level of integrity, forget incompetence. It's an integrity thing. If you're going into someone's home, you should exercise a high level of, like, you should want to treat someone's home like you would want someone to treat yours. And this is what I preached. This is what I preached. People don't have integrity anymore. So, we just living in a society where people just don't care. They're not going to go above and beyond. So, yes, absolutely. You need both. Moving company is different. Um, and that's like, I'm not going to go into claims for a moving company. It's a little bit different because you have something on the moving side, which is considered valuation, which is not insurance, and customers get that for free, depending on your intrastate compliance. Most states, intrastate valuation pays 30 cents per pound per article. Interstate, 60 cents per pound per article. Everybody gets this free. If you're a licensed company, everybody gets that free. It's not insurance. That's what they get for free, 30 cents or 60 cents. Interstate is 60 cents per pound per article. States may vary from an interstate perspective. Here in Illinois, it's 30 cents per pound per article. And if you damage something, this is what they get as far as valuation is concerned. It's not insurance. Insurance in the moving side is always up to the consumer. They can either get declared value, which is depreciated value, or full coverage. Most customers don't buy it, right? Because it's very, very expensive. So they take their chances. The customers that do buy it are usually homeowners that, who live in really nice homes. Um, and their just items are just valued real high. So they don't mind spending the money on declared or full value. But most moves, majority of the moves, over 75, 80% of the moves, maybe over 90% don't buy it. And maybe that's market dependent. I'm in Chicago, so a lot of the jobs here are apartments more so than homes. You're gonna get way more apartment moves than homes, more apartments, more condos than homes. Obviously, because people who live in homes, they stay put. Uh, so people moving in apartments is just not buying insurance. But valuation is on the moving side. It's a little bit different than on the final mile side or the trucking side. So, you've heard stories of customers carrying paint pens and fixing nicks without a customer. Yeah, it happens. Imperfections, yeah, that's why they have them. You believe it or not, some of the furniture, Pippi, believe it or not, comes with them. Like I've had contracts. Um, I can't think of specific companies, but when you open the box and your hardware in the box, you'll have whatever Allen keys you need, whatever wrenches you need, and in some cases, for some items, there'll be a furniture pin in there, and it'll be the code color to match whatever it is you're delivering, and it'll be to fix the imperfection. So if it comes with the equipment, then you see that with a lot of the Chinese, well, not a lot, with some of the Chinese manufactured items. Um, yeah, I saw that video where the guy was crawling up under the truck, getting like the oil from the truck, the grease from the truck, and they were delivering something black and trying to smear it onto the item. It happens. It happens. So yeah. Yep. Shout out to M Jackson. Shout out to Kirk in the building. Let me see. Any more questions for us, guys? Michael said they got $20,000 refrigerators. Yep. Worst refrigerator I ever delivered was a Sub Zero. I hate Sub Zeros. They're just awkward because they're top heavy. I hate Sub Zeros. Hit the like button. Well, if you plan on being licensed, you got to have it in order to be licensed. So, if you're getting licensed, you got to have it before they grant you your license. But, your insurance, like I said, doesn't cover the item. What you have to explain to customers in moving is your insurance does not cover their goods. The only thing that covers their goods is valuation. That's it. Valuation. There's a intrastate valuation. There's an interstate. Interstate is across the board 60 cent per pound per article. Right. So you got something that's, let's say, 10 grand, and it's something that's very light, but let's say it weighs 10 grand. No, let's say it's very light. Let's say it costs 10 grand, but it's very light. Say it weighs 10 pounds. So it costs 10 grand, but it only weighs 10 pounds. Just making the math easy. And you break it. They don't have insurance. Your cargo insurance is not going to cover it because you damaged it while loading or unloading or trying to bring it in a home or whatever the case may be. It didn't happen in transport. So what would pay out would be valuation. And let's say it was an interstate move, cross country, cross state lines. That's when a federal valuation would kick in, 60 cents per pound per article. You have to pay that. It's governed. It's regulated. $10,000, whatever this was, it weighs 10 pounds. You would cut them a check for $6. They're going to be highly upset. They're going to call you. They're going to curse you out. But it's a regulated industry. If it's regulated statewide, like it is in my state, 30 cents per pound. So you send them a check for $3. Then you would have to explain to them that it was their job to purchase declared, which is depreciated value or full value. They're going to write you a bad review. And that's just that. They're going to write you a 1-star review on Yelp. They're going to write you a 1-star review on Google, right? They're going to write you a 1-star review on wherever. So that's what it is. So obviously you're not going to replace something that was $10,000. Maybe if it was $100 or $200, you'll probably, the moral, ethical thing will probably just be replace it. I had a guy in the Discord last week, broke a TV, came in the Discord, asked what to do, coached him. We coached him. He went and replaced the TV. It was a cheap TV. I think it was like a On or a Westinghouse or one of them Walmart brands. He thought it was going to be a lot more. Looked at it, I said, this is a Walmart brand. You can get this for $300. Just replace it. It was an $800 job. They broke the TV. One of his movers broke the TV. $300. He still was profitable. But TVs are touchy. They're TVs are touchy. Some TVs I learned to not touch, like really really delicate, like thin frame OLED TVs. If a customer didn't have a box, then they would have to purchase a TV box. It's like I'm not wrapping that type of TV with a blanket, because anything can happen. The truck, it can be wrapped really really good, but the truck could hit a pothole. Those TVs are really delicate. They need to be in a TV box. Some TVs you can wrap in a blanket. I think he wrapped that TV in a blanket, but I don't know. I forgot how it was packed. But certain TVs, not wrapping it in a blanket. You got some TVs that are really, they got like a real thin frame. The pixels are really like, those pixels burn out, and it's like the smallest little vibration, anything. Those TVs have to be in a box, but that goes to um, your level of expertise of knowing. Listen, you need a TV box for this. There's no way for us to transport this. This TV needs more than just a blanket. So you have to exercise a certain level of discernment when you're dealing with certain TVs. You said wall mount failures when TVs fall off the wall. That's due to somebody who didn't know how to mount the TV. They missed a stud. I went to a vocational high school here in Chicago, so I understand carpentry. I majored in carpentry in vocation, so my junior and senior year, half of the day, we had to spend in shop. This is back when, the public school systems were promoting vocation, so that when you graduated high school, you could go right into a trade. So I majored in carpentry, so I could build a house. We built a house. So I understand studs are 16 inches apart. Right. So I understand where to find the studs without needing a stud finder, because I know carpentry. But, you got people that don't understand that. So they rely on the stud finder. They miss the stud. They don't know how to use the stud finder. They mount a TV. They don't know how to test it. And then the TV falls. Or like we seen someone earlier last year, was it this year? They didn't know how to unmount a TV. They they tried to unmount it from the wall without taking the TV off the bracket. I ain't gonna start no trouble though. I ain't gonna start no. Is Ro in here? Ro, you in here? I don't want to start no trouble. I'm just using it as a case study. I don't want to start no trouble. I'm coming in peace, but it's using it as a case study. We saw somebody try to take the TV, didn't take it off the bracket, literally tried to just unscrew it out the wall without taking the TV off the bracket. I don't know, man. Everybody's skill set is different. So, man, oh man. All right. All right. I think we're somebody said they were being lazy. No, I don't think they were being lazy. I just don't think they knew. I don't think they knew. We tried to educate them, but they didn't want to hear it. They didn't want to hear it. Yeah, so you just learn stuff over a period of time. It's good to have someone that knows to teach you, so it can help you avoid um, costly mistakes. And we know with Final Mile, mistakes are costly. So, all right, all right, all right, all right, all right, all right, all right. I think I'm going to. What time is it? It is 5:30. I'm going to wrap this up here because I want to get to the gym. All right, you guys have a blessed day. You said they pack their own TVs. Some customers do, some customers don't. Like you have some customers that hire you to, let's say, move them. They want full service. It's your job. So you could sell them a TV box. TV boxes are very expensive. But you should exercise a level of discernment on what you can or can't wrap in a blanket versus what should be in an actual TV box. You know. So it is what it is. So, you know. But, a person who has a really expensive TV in a home, 9 times out of 10 they'll keep their TV box, or some customers will move their TVs themselves. But then like people that live in apartments who don't have the room to store a TV box, I'm gonna tell you what I did during the pandemic. I had a really expensive TV on one of the jobs that I was on. It was like an 85-inch OLED, really expensive TV, really thin frame. There was no way a blanket was going to save this TV. All right. Since it was a high-rise building, I had to think quick. I went downstairs to the trash area. I said, well, this building got about 50, 60 floors. There's about 15, 20 units on each floor. Hopefully someone bought a TV prior to when the last trash pickup was. And I'm going to go down by the dumpster and see if it's a TV box. And if it is, hopefully it's big enough. By the grace of God, I went down there and there was a TV box. So I grabbed the TV box, and it wasn't in the dumpster. It was sitting on the side of the dumpster. And I brought the TV box up the stairs, and I put their TV in the TV box. I'm smart. I was thinking on my feet. I'm sharp. What do I always say? Before making a really, really tough decisions, think about a bad time in your life. Same thing goes here. Like, yo, I don't want to pay for this expensive TV. So it's forcing me to think, man, let me take my ass downstairs and see if it's a TV box by the dumpster. Because I don't want to pay for this TV. Like I'm thinking. Quick. I'm quick. That's why I'm cold. That's why I'm cold. Because I don't want to pay for no TV. All right. Shout out to Dumbeezy. Shout out to Police. Said do the same type of cartoon commercials. Somebody did a cartoon commercial? Who? Somebody bit my cartoon? Who bit my cartoon? Who bit my cartoon? You said somebody bit my cartoon? Who? Who bit my cartoon? I guess she left. All right. I'm out, y'all. Y'all stay safe. Peace.